Having a clear ideal client or ideal client profile does a few things for a business. It determining your ideal client is used to plan all of your marketing and sales efforts. So that's like step one. If that's not clear, then all of your marketing and sales efforts are probably going to be futile. So that's part of this equation. But it also guides who it is that you're speaking to in all of your business categories. So in marketing, sales, and operations, all of those are affected by who it is that you're actually serving. And your ideal client is really made up of 3 different parts. So that's where they are, or the geographic information you have about them, their biggest need, that's their psychographic, or maybe their thought processes and their decision making. And then finally, their buying criteria. And that's demographic information we have about them. So what habits do they have? What's most important? What values do they hold that guide where they invest their time, their money, and their efforts? And so if we can check the boxes or understand our ideal client to the depths in their geographic, psychographic, and demographic characteristics, we're going to be in really good shape to speak to those things specifically in our marketing, our sales, and our service delivery and operations. Quick side note here, you do need to consider potential size of the market when you're describing ideal client. We talked about that a little bit. It's just a sufficient market existing for your core offer and who it is that it's fit for. So what makes up a strong ideal client profile? We just kind of unpacked these, but you need to know where they're at, what their biggest need is, their buying criteria, and then you need to have a clear ideal client profile built out for every core offer that you have. So we talked about the pitfall of having too many core offers. You can have a few, but I would not recommend more than 3, at the maximum 3. I would say even our best business owners probably have 2 core offers that they're known for. Many have 1. But regardless of how many you have, there should be a clear ideal client per core offer. So there's going to be nuances between each of those core offers and who it is that's best fit for and what their needs are and what needs you're meeting as a part of that service. So there needs to be some distinction across your core offers. And then again, sufficient market existing. So ideal client is something that I think many of you guys probably understand the value of and have probably attempted to build out on your own before. We have a really awesome ideal client tool that you guys will also get access to this week, and I'll be showing you a example of right now. But this, I think, is probably one of the best tools that I've seen in the industry that actually break down every little detail that you would need to build out your ideal client. And so this one is probably our most lengthy of all of them. So as you can see, we're not going to go through each and every piece, but you guys will have the opportunity to go through this on your own, and you'll also get a PDF version of this example as well. So I'm going to touch on just a few things that are listed here at the top. As we mentioned before, your ideal client is the prototype individual that your core offer is designed for. So your ideal client's not necessarily like your favorite client that you have right now. So I would not recommend that you base this ideal client tool and your ideal client system off of a real person, but it's like the smack dab bullseye of who your core offer is designed for. And so it's a hypothetical person. It's a profile of a person. And more often than not, it's really going to be a blend of a few different people that you serve right now. And you're thinking, if I could combine Joe, Tammy, and Tim all together, that would be like my ideal person. They would start training with me and they'd never leave. That is your ideal client. And that's who you're going to be describing here in this profile, and having a really clear picture of who that should be and what's important to them is what this is all about.
Madison,
So,
the question is Sheila again.
Yeah, you're good.
So for me, my new ideal client is remote, and I know very little about them. These could all be potential new clients, and I'm not really sure about the behaviors and that type of thing. I know for my brick and mortar clients, definitely, because I have a pattern of usage and behavior. But what about this whole new world of remote clients, people that are working from home and choosing to do fitness online? Just FYI.
Yeah. So why does your ideal client have to change just because your service delivery is remote?
The needs will be different. The channels will be different. The way you deliver it to them and market it.
So are their needs different, or just how they're delivering or how they're receiving your value is different?
Not really sure.
So I think you're asking a really great question. It's almost a blend of the core offer system, like having a clear picture of what it is that you offer and what need you're meeting, and its overlap with identifying your ideal client. That's kind of what you're describing. It's just you're in a state of flux with potentially moving to virtual training, right? But for most of us, if we are best at delivering these particular outcomes. So, for example, say you serve women over 40 that have a few kids, and they're trying to like feel young and energized again, and that's what their priority is. Maybe that's who your ideal client is. Well, your core offer, it needs to meet those people's particular needs, but there may not be a change in your ideal client just because you're going remote. It's just your service delivery might have to look a little bit different. And so that's why alignment is so important, right? We're talking about business strategy today, but as we build out business strategy, then that should inform your operations. And so if their needs for accountability are very high, then that needs to be built into your operational plan, and how you serve those people and meet those needs regardless of whether you're brick and mortar or if you're delivering remote. And so I think having a clear picture of who it is that you're marketing to is kind of step one. And that doesn't necessarily have to change just because you're going remote. Real quick, Sheila, because I think you've asked some great questions. For those people that are on the call, I know, so every one of our coaching partners, so I recognize a lot of your guys' faces. You've delivered training over the last few months with all the closures virtually, right? So would you say that the value you have delivered to your clients changed when you went virtual? So Michael Wilkie is saying no. Mark Greenwood saying no.
I would actually go so far as to say it's actually increased.
Right. Yeah, it's gone up. It's like actually way more work. So we're not just meeting the needs, we're even exceeding the needs with remote.
Ours has decreased significantly.
So why is that?
I'm at a corporate fitness center. I'm at a commercial fund facility, and there's no fee involved. It's free.
Yeah, so that changes the equation a little bit. Yep. But as far as service delivery and the needs of your clients, those really haven't changed over the last few months. They're just now stuck at home with the same needs. And so us as the business owner, we have the responsibility to identify what those needs are, how the outcomes I'm best at getting is going to meet those needs, and then I need to have a clear picture of how those things like click together. So it's those things need to be in alignment and in cooperation to build out your service delivery and what that should look like and what it should include. And so Sheila, I think that we'll probably be unpacking this with you over the next few weeks, and I know you're not the only one on this call that's wondering about remote and how that's going to change things. But that's a great question, and I think that'll also come up in operations in a few weeks as well when we talk about client care and that kind of thing. Okay, we are at 1:54, so I'm going to go ahead and come back to our presentation. We'll go ahead and move towards wrapping up. We've gone through our ideal client tool, our core offer tool, and our long-term vision tool. And the things that you want to avoid with your ideal client tool, we talked about this before. Your ideal client not existing. So if they're a real person, obviously we're a little bit too specific. So your ideal client should be a profile or a blend of a few different people. And if it's based on a real person, there's a problem. If your ideal client doesn't exist, meaning you're just describing like this perfect person, and the needs that you describe in that profile aren't realistic, that's not very helpful. There's a lack of specificity, or there's too much specificity. when we're really, really, really specific on the ideal client tool, what we don't want to do is make our target market so shrunk that we are eliminating people that we can serve because we're so specific on this tool. So the way ours is built out, it should guide you to the appropriate level of specificity. But that's something that we see often when people haven't gone through a formal kind of tool to build this out, and they just kind of have painted a picture on their own about what their ideal customer should look like.